Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to get to grips with something really fundamental to how our modern world actually operates: industrial valves.
hmm
Think about it. The flow of oil and gas, treating our water, generating power, it all relies on these, well, often overlooked bits of engineering.
Yeah, they're kind of hidden, aren't they?
Exactly. And we've got this fascinating report here, Valves in the Age of 4.0, from Amicus Growth Advisors, to help us sort of navigate this whole area.
That's right. And, when you think of a valve, you might just picture a simple tap, right?
Yeah.
But industrial valves, they're way more complex. They're sophisticated control systems, really, managing the movement of all sorts of materials, fluids, gases,
Yeah.
across a huge range of industries, making sure everything runs safely, efficiently.
Right.
And this Amicus report, it really zeroes in on a key area, the Indian valve manufacturing sector. It argues it's at a really interesting inflection point.
Absolutely. What makes this report so compelling, I think, is that focus on India. We've seen these government initiatives like Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat really gaining momentum.
Mhm.
And this report suggests they're actually having a tangible impact on this specific industry, boosting domestic production capabilities.
Yeah, and what's particularly noteworthy is that India isn't just meeting its own sort of significant internal demand anymore.
Right.
It's increasingly becoming a major player on the global stage, exporting high-quality and, crucially, cost-competitive valve solutions.
To some big markets, too.
Yeah, to some of the world's biggest markets, the
Yeah.
U.S., Germany, the UAE,
Yeah.
places like that.
Okay. So the mission for this deep dive seems clear. We want to understand the current dynamics, the global industrial valve market, figure out where India fits in all that, identify the major trends, the challenges, and ultimately assess if India really has the potential to, well, maybe even dominate globally in this space.
That's a big question.
It is. And our main guide for this is that comprehensive industry analysis from Amicus Growth Advisors.
Okay, let's dive in. What's the big picture look like globally right now?
Well, according to Amicus, the global industrial valve market in 2024 it's pretty hefty. USD 79.90 billion.
Wow. Okay.
And the forecast is for significant expansion. They're projecting it to reach about USD 108.20 billion by 2029.
Okay, so what's the growth rate on that?
That works out to a CIR, a compound annual growth rate of 6.25%, which is pretty healthy. Think of KIR as the average yearly growth over that period.
Right. That kind of sustained growth suggests a lot of activity.
Yeah.
What's driving all that expansion?
Well, there are several key factors sort of converging. We're seeing rapid industrialization, lots of infrastructure development happening worldwide.
Right.
As economies grow, you just need more factories, more power plants, more water treatment facilities.
All using valves. Exactly. All heavily reliant on valves. Then you've got the increasing global appetite for energy and the ever-growing need for effective water management solutions. That's a big one, too.
That makes sense. And imagine as industries become more regulated, safety plays a bigger role, too.
Oh, absolutely. More stringent safety regulations across various sectors are definitely pushing companies to adopt more advanced, more dependable valve technologies.
Right.
And let's not forget the constant push for better efficiency. Businesses are always looking to optimize their operations, and high-quality modern valves are, pretty essential for that.
Now, the global economy is, it's a complex beast, isn't it?
Right.
How do things like international trade, tech advancements, even inflation, how do they ripple through to this specific market?
Oh, they have a really significant effect. Global economic growth, obviously, that fuels overall demand.
Sure.
Trade and globalization, they impact everything from supply chain resilience, making sure manufacturers can get the materials they need, to how export and import rules affect competitiveness.
Right.
Technological leaps, especially in automation and digitalization.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll call smart valves.
Yeah.
They're creating new demands, new opportunities. And, we can't ignore the cost of raw materials, particularly metals like steel. And then broader economic factors like inflation, interest rates. They directly influence manufacturing costs and investment decisions.
Okay, so it's a big interconnected system. Got it. Now let's get down to the nuts and bolts, so to speak. What kinds of valves are most in demand around the world?
The report highlights ball valves as the current leader. They command a significant chunk, 24.50% of the market in 2024.
Okay.
Interestingly, they actually held a slightly larger share back in 2022.
Huh. Why are they so popular?
Their versatility, mainly,
Yeah.
is a major reason for this dominance. They're used in a huge range of applications, from ensuring your tap water flows properly to critical process and chemical plants, and of course oil and gas.
Right.
and the global market just for ball valves alone. It's projected to expand from, let's see, USD 13.50 in 2023 to nearly USD 21.91 billion by 2033.
Wow.
That kind of growth in just one type tells you something about its importance.
That's a hefty growth forecast for just one type.
Well,
What about other key valve types? The report mentioned gate valves, too. What makes them important?
yeah, gate valves are another crucial type, and they're expected to be particularly favored for applications where you need a completely unobstructed flow path.
Yeah.
And really effective on-off control.
Okay.
Think of a gate valve almost like a floodgate. It's either fully open or fully closed.
Right. Simple but effective.
Exactly. They're known for being robust, handling high pressures, large volumes of fluids, makes them indispensable in oil and gas, wastewater management, power generation.
Okay.
Interestingly, gate and globe valves together, they actually form the largest family group of valves in use today, known as multi-turn valves.
And I noticed that gate, globe, and ball valves together account for over 2/3 of all valve sales. That still leaves a pretty significant chunk for other types, though.
That's exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, the remaining market share is made up of other important types, like butterfly valves, plug valves, check valves, pressure relief, pinch valves.
Yeah.
Each designed with specific jobs and advantages in mind.
Okay. Now, let's think geographically. Where in the world is most of this valve activity taking place?
Well, in 2023, the Asia-Pacific region really stood out. It held the largest slice of the revenue pie, 35.8%.
Wow, over a third.
Yeah. And this is largely fueled by, well, rapidly growing chemical consumption and just significant construction booming across the region.
Right.
And the projections for APAC are really strong. They anticipate a high CAGR of 12% from 2024 to 2030. Driven by expansion in petroleum refining and building new nuclear power plants. So you can see a real engine of growth there.
So Asia-Pacific is the current powerhouse, clearly. But what about other regions? Are they seeing similar trends?
Yeah, both Europe and North America are also projected to see significant growth in the coming years. Notable GR is expected from 2023 to 2030 for them, too. North America, in particular, is showing rapid growth. That's partly due to replacing older, less efficient valves, especially in gas transportation.
Infrastructure upgrades.
Exactly. And also the increasing production of shale gas and oil sands, which, requires substantial investment in pipeline infrastructure.
Yeah.
So while Asia-Pacific leads, definitely, other regions are contributing significantly to this global expansion.
It certainly seems like energy is a recurring theme here.
Yeah.
What are the specific industries that are really driving the demand for these industrial valves?
You've hit on a key point there. The oil and gas sector is currently the single largest end-use industry for industrial valves.
Okay.
And it's also projected to have the fastest growth, an impressive KGR of 8.7% during 2024-2030.
That's huge.
It is.
Yeah.
And it makes perfect sense when you think about how essential valves are at every single stage of oil and gas operations, from getting it out of the ground upstream to transporting it midstream and refining it into usable products downstream. Valves are everywhere.
That makes perfect sense. What about other sectors? The report also highlighted water and wastewater treatment?
Yes, that's another sector experiencing rapid growth. A projected CAGR of close to 6%.
Still very strong.
Very strong. And this is being driven by global efforts to improve access to clean drinking water, plus a rise in government-led water supply and sanitation projects, especially in developing nations.
Right.
Valves are just absolutely crucial in both domestic and agricultural water management, as well as in large-scale treatment plants and distribution networks. It's a sector with a vital mission, and valves are right at the heart of making it work.
Okay, let's shift focus slightly. Talk about the characteristics of the valves themselves. What about their size and the materials they're typically made from?
Okay, size-wise, the 1-inch to 6-inch range currently holds the largest share of the market.
Why is that?
They're just incredibly versatile, used in a huge variety of applications where you need sort of moderate flow rates and precise control.
Got it.
But there's also significant demand for larger sizes too, from 7 inches all the way up to 51 inches, even larger sometimes. For bigger industrial operations where you need higher flow rates, think large water distribution systems, major pipelines.
So size really does matter depending on the job.
Exactly. It really depends on the application.
And material-wise, what are these valves typically constructed from?
Well, stainless steel is expected to become the dominant material, mostly due to its exceptional resistance to corrosion and its durability.
Right. Makes sense for tough environments.
Precisely. It makes it the go-to choice for valves in harsh environments, high-pressure systems.
Right.
You find those in oil and gas, chemical processing, water treatment, pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
However, it's worth noting that steel, just, in a broader sense, currently represents the largest segment overall. And specifically, cast steel valves held a pretty significant share, 35.40% in 2024.
So cast steel is still very important.
Very important. It's highly valued for its strength, its durability, making it ideal for high-pressure, high-temperature applications, particularly in power generation, chemicals, and oil and gas. So while stainless is on the rise, steel in general remains a real workhorse material.
We've been focusing mostly on the valves themselves, but they don't operate in isolation, do they? What about components like actuators?
Exactly, good point. The actuator segment is a significant part of the market in its own right, valued at around USD 31.61 billion in 2023.
That's a big number.
It is. Actuators are essential for controlling the movement of valves, other mechanisms too. And their growth is being driven by the increasing need to reduce downtime, boost productivity in manufacturing, other industrial activities.
Automation driving demand.
Yeah, the growing demand for industrial robots, the whole move towards greater automation, that definitely impacts this segment positively. Think of actuators as the muscles that make the valves work, often automatically.
And the report mentioned an others segment with significant growth potential. What falls into that category?
That others segment includes things like valve positioners, IP converters, stuff like that.
Okay.
What's really interesting here, though, is the increasing adoption of smart valve positioners.
Ah, the smart aspect again.
Yeah. These aren't just about controlling the valve's position. They also collect valuable data about its performance. They can automatically alert users to potential issues.
So like predictive maintenance.
Yeah, exactly. This kind of real-time feedback is a huge asset for preventative maintenance, diagnostics, helping to keep operations running smoothly, minimizing unexpected breakdowns. It's quite clever.
This gives us a really comprehensive overview of the global market. Fantastic. Now, let's turn our attention specifically to India. How is the Indian industrial valve market shaping up?
Okay, the Indian industrial valves market, estimated at USD 2.41 billion in 2024.
Still substantial.
Definitely. And is projected to reach USD 3.38 billion by 2029. That's with a robust CAGR of over 7%. So it's clearly a market on a strong upward trajectory.
What are the key trends fueling this growth in India specifically? Are they similar to the global trends?
There are definitely parallels with global trends, yeah.
True.
But also some India-specific drivers. Technological advancements are a major factor. Indian manufacturers are increasingly investing in R&D to enhance product performance, efficiency. There's also a growing emphasis on sustainability and energy efficiency, both in design and manufacturing practices.
That seems universal now.
It really does. And the increasing adoption of digitalization, integrating IoT, the Internet of Things, predictive analytics, that's also transforming the landscape in India, leading to smart valves, remote monitoring capabilities. And of course, globalization and the drive for market expansion are key. Indian manufacturers are actively looking at and penetrating international markets.
And the report really highlighted India's growing reputation, didn't it, as a global supplier of these critical components?
Absolutely. India is steadily gaining global recognition for producing high-quality valves that are also, importantly, cost competitive.
That combination is powerful.
It is. Indian manufacturers have successfully established strong export markets in key regions like the U.S., UAE, Germany, Saudi Arabia, among others. Their ability to offer competitive pricing while still adhering to international quality standards is making them an increasingly attractive choice for many industries worldwide.
We touched on government initiatives earlier. How significant are programs like Make in India for this particular sector?
They are proving to be very significant. Yeah. Initiatives like Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat are actively promoting domestic manufacturing across various sectors, and the valve industry is no exception.
So it's helping drive local investment.
Exactly. These programs encourage local companies to invest in R&D, adopt modern technologies, boost their overall production capabilities. Plus, the government's strong focus on infrastructure development, transport, energy, water that's creating substantial and growing domestic demand for valves too.
And it seems like Indian manufacturers are really stepping up their game when it comes to quality and adopting new technologies.
That's right. To compete effectively on the global stage, they have to. Indian valve manufacturers are increasingly prioritizing quality, getting crucial international certifications like ISO standards. They're also making significant investments in cutting-edge tech, automation and production, embracing digitalization for efficiency, exploring advanced materials to make their valves more reliable, durable, efficient for those really demanding applications.
Okay. Now, let's delve deeper into a specific critical sector, oil and gas. What are the global dynamics for valves within this industry? It came up earlier as a major driver.
Yes, it's huge.
Yeah.
The global oil and gas valves market was valued at around USD 6.14 billion in 2023,
Okay.
and it's projected to grow to approximately USD 9.13 billion by 2032. That's a CAGR of roughly 4.52%.
Still growing steadily then.
Yeah, and in terms of just the sheer number of valves,
Yeah.
it's a significant jump from about 350 million units in 2023 to a projected 510 million units by 2033.
Wow, that's a lot of valves.
It really is. This growth is being primarily driven by, well, increasing global demand for energy and a significant number of ongoing and planned oil and gas projects around the world.
And geographically, where's most of this oil and gas valve activity concentrated?
The Middle East and Africa are anticipated to really dominate this particular market segment, mostly due to the sheer scale of oil and gas reserves there and the substantial ongoing and planned investment in projects within those regions.
Makes sense. What about the specific types of valves commonly used in oil and gas? Are there any that are particularly prevalent?
Yes, a few key types get used frequently because of the demanding nature of oil and gas ops, including ball valves, globe valves, gate valves, check valves, plug valves, and butterfly valves.
So the usual suspects again?
Pretty much. Currently, ball valves hold the largest share in the oil and gas sector, around 45% in 2023.
Oh, yeah.
Followed by gate valves at 30% and globe valves at 25%. Interestingly, though, butterfly valves are also gaining popularity and market share,
Oh, why is that?
mostly due to their effectiveness in regulating flow within pipelines, refineries, petrochemical plants. Plus, they tend to be relatively affordable compared to some other types.
Right, cost is always a factor.
Always.
And when it comes to size in oil and gas, are there any typical dimensions we see?
Yeah, the 0.25-inch to 8-inch segment is expected to hold the largest share in the global oil and gas valve market, accounting for nearly 51% in 2024.
So smaller to medium sizes mostly?
Yeah, their relatively compact size and, robust durability make them a preferred choice for many applications within this demanding industry.
The report also gave some specific examples of these transformative oil and gas projects happening right now in India. Can you highlight a few of those just to give us a sense of the scale?
Absolutely. To give you a concrete idea, consider the massive Panipat refinery capacity expansion project. Investment of over RSAS 34,000 crore. That's huge.
Wow.
Aimed at meeting growing demand for petroleum and petrochemical products in North India. Then there's the petrochemical and lube integration project at the Gujarat refinery, nearly RN 19,000 crore, expanding capacity, integrating lube and petrochemical production.
Big investment.
Huge. Then you have the Baroni refinery capacity expansion in eastern India, the integrated PX-PTA project at Predictive refinery, ethylene glycol project also at Predictive, and the acrylics oxo alcohol project in Gujarat. All substantial investments, really intended to significantly boost India's refining and petrochemical capabilities.
And all needing thousands, maybe millions of valves.
Exactly. These projects just underscore the vital role that industrial valves play in enabling this kind of large-scale industrial growth.
These projects really highlight the immense scale of investment and, yeah, the absolutely crucial role valves play.
Okay, let's shift focus again. Global trade of valves. What did that landscape look like, say, back in 2022?
Right. Trade figures. In 2022, valves were actually a pretty significant component of global commerce, ranked as the 30th most traded product worldwide. 30th. That's quite high up.
It is. The total value of this trade was substantial, USD 106 billion, which represents about 0.45% of all global trade. Gives you a sense of the sheer volume and value involved.
Who are the major players exporting these critical components?
The top exporting nations in 2022. Well, China was way out in front. USD 22.9 billion in exports.
Wow.
Followed by Germany at 14.7 billion, the US at 12.5 billion, Italy at 8.6 billion, and Japan at 5.37 billion. These are, countries with well-established manufacturing capabilities, strong global supply chains.
And where did India rank in all of this? We've heard about its growing manufacturing prowess.
India is indeed making significant strides. In 2022, India exported USD 2.1 billion worth of valves. That positioned it as the 10th largest exporter globally.
10th? Okay. That's solid progress.
It is. The primary destinations for Indian valve exports were the US, Germany, the UAE, China, and Canada. And what's particularly interesting is that the fastest growing export markets for India between 2021 and 2022 were the US, Canada, and Thailand, indicating a rapidly expanding global footprint.
That's impressive. What about the import side? Who were the biggest buyers of valves globally?
The top importing countries in 2022,
Hmm.
the United States led the way, bringing in USD 16.8 billion worth,
Okay.
followed by Germany at 7.9 billion, China at 7.84 billion. Interesting. They're a top exporter and importer.
Yeah, reflects complex supply chains.
Exactly. Then Mexico at 3.87 billion and Canada at 3.8 billion. All major industrial economies with significant demand.
And where did India stand as an importer?
India was the 13th largest importer in 2022, bringing in USD 1.96 billion worth.
Okay, so exporting slightly more than importing.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah.
The main countries India imports from are China, Germany, the US, Italy, and Japan. And interestingly, the fastest growing import sources for India between 2021 and 2022 were China, the US, and Germany, suggesting, again, some evolving supply chain dynamics.
The report included a really insightful interview, didn't it? With Mr. Ravi Doshi from Oswald Industries, a key player in the Indian valve manufacturing scene. What were some of the main points he shared?
Yeah, Mr. Doshi offered a really valuable firsthand perspective from inside a leading Indian manufacturer. He emphasized India's growing significance as a global manufacturing hub, driven by, cost efficiency and those supportive government policies we talked about.
Right.
He highlighted some exciting trends in materials, things like more corrosion-resistant alloys, materials compatible with new applications like hydrogen.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, and advancements in valve design, particularly the rise of smart valves integrated with IoT technology.
He also touched on some of the challenges that Indian manufacturers face in this evolving landscape, right?
Yes, absolutely. He pointed out several key challenges. Volatility of raw material prices, that's a big one. Shortages of skilled labor, especially in areas like digitalization, advanced
I mean,
manufacturing.
that skills gap is crucial.
It really is. And the intense competition from lower-cost imports. He also explained how companies like Oswald are strategically tackling these challenges through things like diversifying material sourcing, investing in automation for efficiency, prioritizing innovation to stay ahead.
Makes sense. Proactive measures.
Exactly. He stressed that maintaining a competitive edge really requires a continuous commitment to high-quality standards, embracing innovation, adhering to strict international certifications, and increasingly focusing on sustainability in their operations.
And what about their internal efforts towards, sustainability, making operations more environmentally friendly?
Yeah, he highlighted several initiatives there. Implementing lean manufacturing principles to cut waste, using IoT systems to monitor and optimize energy use, actively recycling scrap materials, and exploring renewable energy sources for their facilities. These efforts show a growing awareness and commitment to reducing their environmental footprint.
And his vision for the future.
Looking ahead, he envisions the Indian valve industry undergoing significant transformation. Through greater digitalization, increased automation in manufacturing, a stronger emphasis on sustainability across the whole value chain, and ultimately achieving greater global recognition for its capabilities.
He also shed some light on the role of some of the more cutting-edge technologies, didn't he, in their operations and the industry as a whole?
Absolutely. He underscored the crucial role of predictive analytics, powered by AI and IoT, in enhancing performance and extending the life cycle of valves.
Right.
He explained how smart valves, with sensors and connectivity, along with automation, are fundamentally redefining operations in critical sectors like oil and gas and water management.
How so?
Well, enabling real-time monitoring of valve performance, allowing remote operation in hazardous areas, achieving greater precision in manufacturing, things like that.
Okay.
He also emphasized the growing importance of integrating sustainability into all aspects of manufacturing, using more eco-friendly, recyclable materials, aligning with broader ESG, environmental, social, governance standards.
That's becoming standard practice now.
It really is.
Yeah.
And finally, he noted the potential for Indian manufacturers to play a significant role in the global shift towards renewable energy by developing and supplying specialized valves needed for those emerging applications.
So it sounds like the perspective from within the Indian manufacturing sector is, well, quite optimistic, albeit with a clear understanding of the challenges.
Yeah, definitely a sense of optimism, but grounded in reality.
Okay. Now let's take a step back and look at the broader competitive landscape on a global scale. Who are some of the major players in the global industrial valves market?
Well, the global market is actually quite fragmented, meaning there isn't one dominant company. or even a few. In fact, the report says the top 10 players collectively account for less than 15% of the total market share.
Less than 15% for the top 10. Wow, that is fragmented.
It really is.
Yeah.
But some of the major global companies mentioned as significant players include SLB, Emerson Electric Co., Flowserve Corporation, IMI, and Crane Co. These are, well-established multinational corporations with broad product portfolios and global reach.
Okay. The report also briefly touched upon Porter's five forces framework as a way to analyze the competitive dynamics. Can you give us a quick overview of how those five forces are shaping the valve market? For those unfamiliar, Porter's five forces helps understand the competitive intensity of an industry.
Certainly. Yeah, let's break it down briefly for industrial valves. First, the threat of new entrants. It's considered moderate.
Okay, why moderate?
Well, while there might be opportunities for smaller players in niche markets like valves for green hydrogen, maybe, or in rapidly growing emerging economies, the high initial investment needed for manufacturing facilities, the need for specialized technical expertise, complex regulations, those act as significant barriers for large-scale competitors.
Got it. What about suppliers, their bargaining power?
Bargaining power of suppliers, those providing raw materials, components like steel, actuators, that's moderate to high, mainly due to price volatility and sometimes limited availability of specialized materials.
Right.
Though, things like long-term contracts or manufacturers vertically integrating their supply chains can help mitigate that power somewhat.
Okay. And the buyers, customers.
Bargaining power of buyers, generally high, especially for large volume purchases where they can exert significant price pressure. Also where valves are highly standardized.
But manufacturers can fight back.
Yeah, if they can offer differentiated products, unique features, or build strong partnerships, they can lessen that buyer power.
Okay. Threat of substitutes.
That's considered low. Valves are just so critical in so many industrial processes. There aren't really any readily available direct alternatives to do their core job of controlling fluid flow.
Right. They're pretty fundamental.
Exactly. And finally, competitive rivalry. That's high.
Lots of competition.
Definitely. Characterized by price competition, a constant race for tech innovation, presence of both large global core and numerous smaller regional players, all vying for market share.
So how do companies stand out?
Well, focusing on customization, offering superior quality, building strong customer relationships. Those can help companies differentiate themselves in this competitive environment.
That's a really helpful breakdown of the competitive forces at play. Now, the report included some financial snapshots of several key players, both global and Indian. What were some of the notable trends you observed looking at that data?
Yeah, looking at the financials, we see some interesting trends. For global giants like Emerson, well, there were some revenue fluctuations over the period, but they showed improvements in their EBITDA margins. That's a key profitability measure.
Right. Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization.
Exactly. And a growing emphasis on R&D, though their capital investment stayed relatively stable. Flowserve showed more consistent revenue, resilient EBITDA margins, and a steady approach to both R&D and capital expenditure. Kitsy, on the other hand, experienced solid revenue growth with improving profitability and a significant increase in capital expenditure, suggesting a strong focus on reinvesting. SLB also showed consistent revenue growth and strong overall profitability.
And the Indian companies.
Turning to the Indian players listed, Hawa Engineers Valve showed steady revenue growth and improving efficiency in using their capital. Triton Valve saw consistent revenue increases, recovered profitability, and improvements in managing debt. Chemtech Industrial Valves had a strong revenue recovery, improved profitability, and significantly reduced debt levels. And Atom Valves showed substantial revenue growth, improved profitability, and also reduced their debt-to-equity ratio.
So what's the overall theme there?
Well, a common theme across many of these players, both globally and in India, was a trend towards revenue growth and improving financial health. It indicates a generally positive outlook for the sector, I'd say.
That provides a really useful overview of the financial landscape. The report also highlighted some recent global advancements shaping the valve industry. What were some key areas of innovation that stood out?
Several important areas. In terms of material innovations, we saw examples like Emerson's Vanessa series using high-performance alloys in Inconel, Hastelloy for extreme durability in harsh cryogenic conditions.
Wow.
And Ktetidze offering stainless and carbon steel valves specifically engineered for those cryogenic applications, down to incredibly low temperatures like native at any 96 degrees C.
Minus 196 Celsius.
Okay. Sustainability initiatives are also gaining significant traction. Companies like Kititsi offering lead-free brass valves, valves made from recycled materials with certifications like NSF, NSI 61, demonstrating commitment to environmental responsibility.
Good to see.
Emerson also introduced a new eco-friendly electric valve actuator as a more sustainable alternative to traditional gas-operated ones.
Right.
We're also seeing a steady stream of new product launches to enhance performance, like Emerson's Aventix Series 625 centronic proportional pressure control valves, offering very precise electronic pressure control.
More precision, more control.
Exactly. Market expansion is also happening through strategic M&A mergers and acquisitions, like Flowserve acquiring Mogaha's Industries to strengthen its portfolio in mining and mineral extraction.
Okay.
And, of course, technological advancements, particularly integrating IoT with smart valves, revolutionizing monitoring and maintenance. Emerson's PlantWeb Insight software enabling predictive diagnostics, real-time monitoring, that kind of thing.
So it's clear the industry isn't just making incremental improvements. Some real game-changing innovations are happening. What are some of the key innovations really allowing companies to differentiate themselves, gain that competitive edge?
Several factors contribute to differentiation. Developing and applying advanced materials and the ability to offer customized solutions for specific, demanding applications. That's crucial.
Like for hydrogen.
Yeah, including corrosion-resistant alloys for harsh chemicals, even materials specifically designed for emerging applications like green hydrogen transport and use. Designing for energy efficiency is also becoming increasingly important.
Oh, so.
Creating low-emission valves that minimize leaks, optimizing designs to reduce pressure drop in pipelines that saves costs and helps environmentally. Incorporating enhanced safety features is paramount, too.
Fail-safes and things.
Exactly. Fail-safe mechanisms ensuring safe operation in emergencies, fire-safe or explosion-proof designs for hazardous environments. Leveraging recognized industry certifications, ISO, ASME, API, and offering customized testing builds trust and ensures compliance.
Right.
And finally, just having a strong brand reputation for reliability and quality, coupled with a demonstrable commitment to sustainable manufacturing, that can also be a significant differentiator.
We've heard a lot about the increasing role of technology. Let's dive a bit deeper into some specific tech transformers really shaping how valves are made and used.
Okay. The Internet of Things, IoT, is playing a fundamental role, enabling real-time monitoring of valve performance, allowing remote control, facilitating predictive maintenance by spotting issues before they cause breakdowns. Emerson's PlantWeb is a prime example. Digital twin technology is also gaining traction, creating virtual replicas of valve systems for simulation, design optimization, enhancing reliability without needing physical prototypes.
That sounds very efficient.
It can be. Additive manufacturing 3D printing is enabling creation of complex components, speeding up prototyping, allowing greater customization.
Right.
Big data analytics is helping companies identify performance trends, optimize systems for efficiency, like improving energy efficiency in oil and gas pipelines, and just make better decisions.
Using the data from those smart valves.
Exactly. Automation and robotics are increasingly used in manufacturing CNC machining, robotic welding for greater precision and scalability. Predictive analytics and AI are forecasting maintenance needs more accurately, improving reliability, minimizing downtime.
Even blockchain.
Yeah, even blockchain is being explored for potential in enhancing supply chain transparency and traceability, maybe in managing the life cycle of critical components.
It certainly sounds like a significant technological evolution is underway in what might seem like a relatively traditional industry.
It really is. Things are changing fast.
Now, even with all this progress and potential, there must be some significant roadblocks, challenges, particularly for the valve industry in a dynamic market like India. What are some key hurdles Indian manufacturers are facing?
Yeah, several significant challenges exist. The volatility of material costs and general inflation that can really squeeze profit margins.
Not a big concern.
Labor shortages, especially skilled workers who can operate and maintain the increasingly digital automated equipment that can cause delays in manufacturing and installation. That skills gap again. The rapid pace of tech change itself is a hurdle for some companies, just adapting quickly enough, maybe holding on to older, less efficient practices.
Yeah.
The influx of lower-cost imports, often from other Asian countries, creates intense price pressure on domestic manufacturers.
The competition aspect.
Exactly. The market itself is highly competitive. Loads of domestic and international players vying for share, sometimes leading to price wars. Exporting also presents barriers. Complex trade policies, costly certifications, understanding different market regulations.
It's not easy.
There's also often a limited focus on the aftermarket segment, meaning manufacturers might miss revenue opportunities in maintenance, repairs, spare parts.
Good point.
And finally, demand fluctuations in key end-user industries, which can be cyclical, create challenges in production planning and overall profitability.
Those are some significant hurdles to navigate. What kind of strategic recommendations does the report offer to help them overcome these roadblocks and capitalize on the opportunities?
The report outlines several key strategies. To mitigate raw material costs and inflation, it suggests things like hedging, diversifying suppliers, exploring recycled materials. To address labor shortages and skill gaps, investing in training programs, apprenticeships, strategically implementing automation, adapting to rapid tech changes, seeking technology partnerships, increasing R&D investment, maybe offering retrofitting services for older systems,
Right.
competing against low-cost imports, focusing on quality differentiation, seeking government support via favorable policies, continuously improving operational efficiency, overcoming intense market competition, product differentiation, value-added services like tech support, installation help, building strong brand recognition and loyalty,
Makes sense. What about exporting?
tackling export barriers,
Yeah.
simplifying compliance, leveraging beneficial trade partnerships, developing clear market entry strategies, enhancing aftermarket focus, maybe creating specialized service divisions, offering predictive maintenance based on smart valve data, exploring subscription models, managing demand fluctuations, diversifying across different end-user industries, adopting flexible production, effective inventory management, and finally, promoting digital transformation across the board. ERP, CRM, IoT solutions, data analytics, seen as essential for long-term competitiveness and growth.
This has been an incredibly comprehensive deep dive into the world of industrial valves, both globally and with a really insightful focus on India, all thanks to that detailed Amicus Growth Advisors report. To bring it all together, what would you say are the absolute key takeaways for our listeners?
Yeah, the key insights are really compelling, I think. First, the global and Indian industrial valve markets present significant growth opportunities, fueled by industrialization, infrastructure development, rising demand in vital sectors like oil and gas, water treatment.
Right.
While ball valves dominate currently, innovation is constant, driving advancements across all valve types and crucial areas like materials, science, digital integration. The Asia-Pacific region is a major demand driver now, but other markets also offer substantial potential.
And India's role?
India is clearly emerging as a strong, increasingly important global player, leveraging its manufacturing capabilities, supportive government policies. However, Indian manufacturers must strategically address those ongoing challenges, costs, skills, competition to fully capitalize.
Okay.
Ultimately, the ongoing tech advancements and the growing global imperative for sustainability are fundamentally reshaping the industry, creating both challenges and exciting new avenues for growth and innovation.
And it certainly seems like India, with its current trajectory and focus, is very well positioned to potentially become, a dominant global hub in this absolutely essential sector.
Absolutely. With its increasing emphasis on quality, its growing appetite for innovation, continued support from government initiatives, India has a strong pathway towards achieving significant global prominence in the industrial valve market in the coming years.
So here's a final thought for you, the listener, to consider. Given the rapid, continuous advancements in technology and that ever-increasing global focus on sustainability, how will the ability of valve manufacturers, both in India and around the world, to fully embrace and integrate these transformative shifts ultimately determine their long-term success and their overall contribution to the progress of global industry? It's a fascinating intersection, isn't it? Technological adoption, environmental responsibility, and the future of market leadership in this absolutely vital industry that, keeps the world flowing. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.